Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Heart Health Conversations, where we bring you real life stories from patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals who are changing lives through awareness and education. I'm Shehzad, your host and patient advocate of Heart Health Conversations. Well, today we are honored to welcome a truly remarkable guest, Kimberly Klatt. She was born with Tetralogy of Fallot, one of the most complex congenital heart conditions. And she underwent her first life saving heart procedure at just 3 weeks of age, followed by an open heart surgery at 5, another pulmonary valve replacement as a teenager, and most recently, a transcatheter pulmonary valve replacement. But this isn't just a story about heart surgery, it's a story about resilience, about hope, about living life without limits. Kimberly, welcome to Heart Health Conversations.
Thank you for having me, Shahzad. I'm honored to be here and tell my story. And like I said, very honored to be here. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm great. It's sunny day here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very nice, very nice. So, Kimberly, are you ready to show the world that a heart born different can still live an extraordinary life?
Yes.
Great.
Do it every
With
day.
your permission, then shall we start?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Kimberly, let's go back 50 years. You were only 3 weeks old. What happened? Can you tell us the story your parents told you about those first few weeks of your life?
Yeah. I was born in 76, June 76. My mom found out either before or shortly right after my birth that I think it was before, during one of her ultrasounds, that I had problems with my heart. So her OBGYN connected her with a wonderful heart team in Milwaukee, at Children's Hospital in Milwaukee. Dr. Freeberg and Dr. Litwin, and shortly after my birth, I needed surgery at 3 weeks old, and they did what they call a Waterston shunt, and just to keep me basically alive. Yep. And it was very frightening for my parents. Really, my mom was unable to travel back and forth, and so she basically lived at the hospital in Milwaukee. I grew up in a small town in central Wisconsin, and so she stayed at the hospital while my father worked back home. And the story that I was told was that, and she actually said it to a reporter that was featured in a local newspaper, was that she lived at the hospital in a chair next and eating basically one sandwich a day and going to the chapel every day and not knowing who or anything. The only support she had was the family back home and the nurses at the nursing station.
So, for viewers hearing this for the very first time, what exactly is Tetralogy of Fallot? Can you explain it in simple language?
It's a complex congenital heart defect. Tetralogy of Fallot is actually 4 heart defects happening together, and what it means is that they're not flowing together, and there's a hole there's a hole at the bottom of your heart, and it's supposed to be moving your blood flow and oxygen are supposed to be moving together, and it's not, because you have that hole. And what is so important is that you're supposed to have the surgery because you have that hole in, you have the hole, and that Watterson shunt is important to have to block it and to stop it, so that is what it is. In plain terms, it's basically 4 defects in your heart, and one of the things is that you have a hole in your heart. And the big thing is that you are considered at the time a blue baby, because you're lacking oxygen. And I was a blue baby. And that's something that is, you have pretty much your entire life is a sign, is if you have blue in your fingernails, your lips, you're not getting enough oxygen you're not getting enough oxygen. So it's a sign to check yourself out. Get to the doctor, call your doctor, call your whoever you need to. It is the first sign that something is up and something is wrong.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
So the many parents watching our episode and watching your story today may have a child recently diagnosed with Tetralogy of Fallot. What would you like to tell them?
That it is, I would love to tell parents that have Tetralogy of Fallot that it is to find your support. Find your support. Absolutely. But as parents, find your support. For your kids, find your support. But let them be kids. Feel them out. Let them do, if they want to do something, let them do it. But let them do it on their own path. Be their guides. Be there for when they fall. Be there when they have their victories. Parents, like I said before, never put a hold on me. Yes, they were protective of me. Yes, I also was the firstborn, so I kind of had a double protective status of me. But it wasn't, there was always, every time I went to my cardiologist and my cardiothoracic surgeon were like father figures. So they not only were father figures to me, but they were kind of father figures to my mom as well. And so I am the person and woman today because of them. They were the ones that said to me, let her do what she wants to do. If she wants to swim, let her swim. If she wants to ski, let her ski. If she wants to do this, but then on the flip side, if my grades were starting to fall, I had a chat. If I wanted to do something, so much as to, that was my core thing, was that I had somebody that was very instrumental in my life, and it was always them. I had somebody that I could always go to that was not family, and it was a core group. But I also had, when we were younger, a group called, it was called the Little Hearts Club, and it was a group that the parents could really get together with, and us kids could. And it was a range of congenital heart, and it was nice. We had a lot of fun time together to just hang out as kids, and we all had scars, but we could just hang out and run around and do fun things together, and we just were kids, and it was great. It was awesome. And the parents got to talk about whatever they wanted to. And there was different things that also they did. Like there was things for the moms, there was things for the parents separately. And then there was things that we did as families. But find your support groups. And I'm finding that out in advocacy, that there is much more support for parents and families. as I'm doing this now, coming into the advocacy space, and it's wonderful. Stick
Yeah,
with
we'll
it.
talk
Don't be
about
afraid of
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in detail a little later in the interview. So
Right.
I just wanted to know, you said that your first operation was a water shunt. Why was that procedure so important? Yeah, if you could just.
Because I was one, I was too little to have open heart surgery. Open heart surgery would have, to be so blunt, I wouldn't have survived. And to that would have it was a bypass, and it was basically to give me extra time to survive and grow so that I would be able to survive through an actual open heart surgery so they could correct everything in that is wrong in the Tetralogy of Fallot. That is the reason why that the Waterston shunt is. And Dr. Bert Lintwin was and is, he's retired now, but he works with a few foundations. He's kind of like the father of doing the Waterston shunt in Milwaukee. Yeah.
Let's talk about the pulmonary valve. What does it do? If you could just explain in a line or two, what does the pulmonary valve actually do, and why is it such an important valve in the heart?
Uh, I, the easiest way to think about the pulmonary valve is it's a one-way door. Okay. It's one-way door that lets the blood leave the heart and go to the lungs to pick up oxygen. And it's supposed to snap shut so the blood doesn't leak backwards. It's a door that's only supposed to swing shut one way. That's really all it does. So that's really all. It's just a one-way door that lets the blood leave the
Okay.
heart and go
So,
to the
do you think
lungs to
pulmonary
pick up
valve
blood.
disease deserves much greater public awareness?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I do. For someone like myself with tetralogy flow, the pulmonary valve needs more awareness because it's not a one and done piece of surgery, or, like I said before, I was never, it was when I would go to my checkups, and especially after the second surgery, it was like, well, everything's corrected, but we may have to have surgery, but you don't know. And it wasn't something that was just like always knocking on the back of my head or on my shoulder or hanging, sitting on my shoulder, like I'm going to have surgery, but when? I didn't live with that. But you have to have care all the time to check on it for leakage, because it will leak and you grow, and you can grow fast, and that's kind of what happened to me. So yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, because going from baby and kid to adult, you need that care all the way through lifetime. And with somebody like myself and a lot of people, science and science medicine didn't know if we were going to survive until this, until our age. And there's people that are older than me that have it, and that's fantastic, and I love it, and they're doing amazing things. They're rock climbing, and
Remarkable.
they're doing
Yeah,
awesome things. So
Yeah. So,
that's why.
free as a
Exactly
bird,
why.
they shaped your childhood. Instead of treating you like a sick child, your doctors encourage you to live. Tell us about becoming a swimmer, and tell us about your skiing and hiking and traveling. Where did this adventure spirit come from?
My parents actually were very active, and I
Mhm.
got that from them. And everybody around me were always doing something, skiing, swimming, you name it. And that was part of my therapy. And I never had any limitations. The only limitations I had were if you feel tired or you feel like a little, tired or winded or whatever, just take a little bit of a break and continue on. But if you've, again, like I mentioned earlier, you start to see the blue in your lips or then ring us up. But I always had the encouragement of my doctors. The best thing for your heart is activity, and always swimming. That was the first thing that came out of my cardiologist's mouth. Swimming is the best thing for her. Less impact on her chest cavity, the better. And so, I grew up on a river, and so I started. It was so easy for me to just, run outside in the summer when I was little and just jump into the river. I was good to go. I terrified my mother more than anything, but I mean, my auntie was a lifeguard. I just grew up with it. I was always, I wanted to be Jane Goodall and everything. There was not a stone unturned that a stone that I didn't unturn. A tree that I didn't want to climb. That was my life.
Very important for doctors to encourage children with congenital heart disease to stay active whenever it is medically safe. So, yes. So at 17, everything changed. You had no symptoms, yet doctors discovered your pulmonary valve had deteriorated. How did that? And can you just take us to your teenage and the days? In fact, you could also tell us how that homograft helped you. And
so I was 17, junior year, getting ready for applying for university, all that fun stuff. It's a tough year anyway for most kids getting ready for, like I said, university. And I had my yearly checkup. It always happened in October. And it was echo first and then an appointment with my cardiologist. And I was in the middle of swim season, so I was competing. And I was a breaststroker. So go in for the echo, go down to Milwaukee and have the echo. And it was do the echo. And I personally like echoes. I don't mind them. I think that they're really super relaxing, and I just kind of like chill out and just kind of do my own thing. And but then all of a sudden it was like every single person in children's was there. Boom. And I kind of felt like I was in an episode of, I guess now, The Pit, right? Boom, everybody's there. Boom, an episode of, whatever movie show is. And every fellow, everybody. And bright lights, and it was so busy, and my peace just escaped me. And I was like, oh, good Lord, what's happening? And I just kind of looked at my mom, and she looked at, and I could just see the peace that my mom had just drained from her face. And same with me. I was just like, and then I hardly ever saw Dr. Litwin unless it was, and he came in, and I said, boy, this is not good. And he said, well, there's a tear in your valve. And he said, what is it? And he said, we're going to need to do surgery. He said, well, get dressed and we'll go see, Dr. Freeberg, and we'll
you were how old?
have to set up surgery for you. So 17. Yeah, 17. And so we went, and I had no symptom, none. To this day, that was like my fighting weight. Like I was like, leg presses. I literally swimming, diving. I was at my in the summer. I was show water skiing with the pyramids and all the fun stuff. I mean, I was doing everything. Skiing in the winter, skiing in the summer, swimming. I mean, like literally my fighting weight. And I had absolutely nothing. I was literally in my prime, nothing. So we went, I had my checkup, and it was December that I had my surgery, right before the holidays. They bumped me a couple of times, and I had to go down once, and they sent me back home, back to Milwaukee. And then finally they said, well, just stay home for a couple of days, and then we'll just call you. There's a couple emergency surgeries that had to happen. So I had the surgery. They never put me on because of my age and because I was bumped a couple of times, they never put me on the heart-lung machine. That what they did, because this was kind of what I believe, because it was at the start or the beginning process of adult congenital heart practicing. So they brought in a team from Freighter, which is the adult hospital. And so Dr. Litwin said, I need a team from over there and then come over here, because I kind of technically was too old to I was kind of at that age gap to have surgery at Children's, but he was like, no, we're going to do it here. I want her to have the surgery here, but I'm going to bring a team over. And so the team from Freighter, and I remember his name, it's Dr. Muhammad, and his team physically massaged my heart for the 15, 16 hours. And then Dr. Litwin and his team did the surgery. And the one thing I remember from the surgery that was so pinnacle was Dr. Litwin said, the anesthesia team said, what kind of music do you love? Please bring it in. And I said, the Beatles, the White Album, bring it in. And I brought it in. And when I brought it in, somebody from the team looked down at me and said, oh, good, thank God. Last time we something different. We don't have to listen to Bach anymore. And I thought it was so funny. I was like, that's so funny. But it was but the surgery theater had cutouts of the Peanuts characters, like Snoopy and Charlie Brown and da-da-da-da-da. So very, very creative. And but the whole team was great. My best friend from high school, from just growing up, Carrie, she came with me the whole time, stayed. The nurses on the recovery floor got an extra bed and for her to stay with me. She stayed the entire time with me. Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very, but I had a homograph. They put in a homograph instead of a
So that was a
mechanical
donor valve,
or
a
animal
human donor valve, which was
valve.
implanted. Okay.
It is a human donor valve, yes. And they decided to go with that valve because of my age and because it's just friendlier to the body, less medication or no medication. And it is kind of known to last a little bit longer. And it's just, yeah.
You had a second pulmonary valve replacement, and can you just tell us about that then? What age?
Yep. So the second one was at age 48.
Now, how did you discover? What symptoms did you experience then? What were your warning signs?
For the
Your
second
body
one?
finally began giving you some warning signs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yep. So the second one, I did have warning signs. The second one, and it happened right around the pandemic. So it was about 2019, 2020, and it was deceiving to me because I didn't know if it was because I was having things with the pandemic or if it was actual things with my heart. And I was just kind of playing games with my head. And I was having all textbook symptoms of heart valve failure, swelling of my legs, chest pain, shortness of breath. I know there's something else, and I can just not thinking of it right now. But I was just all kind of, like I said, textbook heart valve failure, we kind of went into the watch and wait situation from about late 2019, 2020 until they put in the heart valve in March of 2023, and it was a bovine valve.
So basically, so you're saying that one take that I get is that you had these very textbook symptoms, and what are these symptoms? Should a pulmonary valve patient never ignore? You said yes, breathlessness is one, leg swelling.
Breathlessness,
Okay.
leg swelling, water weight gain, listening to your intuition. And as much as I want to say this, you should never not listen to family members or friends. My mother and my aunt, my mom also is a congenital heart patient, and they both noticed and said something just, honey, your legs don't look well. You look like your, tone of your skin and your nail, just something and I just, stubborn me.
So you were choosing to
I'm
ignore
fine.
these symptoms.
No, I'm fine. And they were right. I was because I didn't want to believe that I was getting sick. But there was like I knew something was wrong, but I didn't want to believe that it was right situation, because I've been athletic and I've always just done and overcome everything. And I just didn't want to believe that it was happening again. I've just done so well, but
unlike your
right.
previous surgeries, unlike your previous surgeries, this time you underwent a transcatheter pulmonary valve replacement. How different was that experience?
It was night and day, and I think that was the other thing. And I spoke to that with my new cardiologist here in Atlanta, and I said, you have to give me the good and the bad straight out. And I think that's where the denial kind of came from, or maybe a fear that I didn't want to have to go through another,
or the stress of an open heart surgery,
maybe recovery, or yeah. I didn't want to go through that. And when he told me, he was like, "Oh no, Kim, no." He was like, "There's this new thing," and he was like, and I was like, and I literally took my tissue. And I was like wiping my eyes, and he was like, "This sounds good." And he's like, "You're gonna be able to ski, and you're gonna be able to," and I was like, he's like, "It's amazing," and I was like, it was like night. I left and it was so great. It was awesome. It was so wonderful. I left that appointment. Basically, I came home and I was like, I think we're going to be able to fix this. And I was so excited. And so, yeah. And it did get worse for a while. Like it was watch and wait for a bit. But once I knew what I was up against, I was ready to go. I was like, let's do it. And so Brian and I went back home to Wisconsin for Christmas. And I came back and I was like, I'm not doing well. We've got to up this, because I had a vacation ready on the books. And so I called cardiologist and said, is there any way we can up the surgery? I'm ready I got to do this. And so he said, well, I'll call, and said, Kim, I got this. We've got the surgery on the books. And that was what I love about
this technology gave you confidence of getting yourself treated as soon as possible, is what my understanding is. Yes. But today's technology means
it did.
Many pulmonary valve patients may avoid another open heart surgery. Do you think enough patients know that? Okay.
I think there's a fine line of yes,
Less awareness
but
of this
I
technology.
think that there is. Yeah, I think that it is. Where it comes into play is legislation needs to sign off and say, you know what? You don't have to have the symptoms. You don't need to be. It's okay to be asymptomatic. I was both at both times. I've been asymptomatic and I've been symptomatic, and here, like, it doesn't matter. Just the treatment is the treatment, and it works, and it's successful. So let's just do it. And what is holding us up is legislation. And that's what needs to be pushed forward. And that's the key here is
Today
is
you're
the
hiking, walking
legislation.
miles
Yeah.
every day, traveling, looking after your dog, living life. What message does that send to other patients?
That you can, and I realize that not everybody can do it. You have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your body. And people with chronic illness do listen to their body. They do listen to their body. They know their body. And they also, and that has, you have to have that with your doctor. Know your level of what you can do. If you can do it, do it. Don't say, oh, well, I don't know if I can do it. I can do it, but just do it. Just enjoy it. Just have fun. Try it. Try something new. It's okay. If you try it and oops,
Yeah.
I didn't do so great. Try it again. You might like it. Try it again. It's okay. What I have tried new things and loved it. I've tried new things, didn't like it. But I say just enjoy it. I was given at a young age the ability to say you are able to do the things that you want to do, because there was never the stigma from my doctors that I wasn't able to do it. So that was really pinnacle. And I think that's why I have such an outlook on
Absolutely.
my recovery, on my health is
Yes,
and
absolutely.
is because I
Let's
had a
talk about
really
a little
great
about your patient
foundation.
advocacy work. Kimberly, I understand you opposed the Georgia House bill, and the bill expands which healthcare professional can conduct pre-participation physical examination and to introduce cardiovascular pre-screening for student athletes. What are your main concerns with this bill, and what changes would you like to see to ensure that the government is doing a better job of identifying children at risk of sudden cardiac arrest?
Yes, I did. Well, and I wasn't the only one that opposed it. And it's not that I 100% oppose it. I want to say that, we need a bill that is strong for heart disease in education. Absolutely, because there's so many times we've seen it in athletics where a student, an athlete has had collapsed, done something that there's been an issue. But what my problem is that I was always given a chance. Always given a chance. So in this bill, it is basically saying you have to have an exam in order to play sports. And I'm not okay. No, I'm not okay with that. No. I'm okay. I have the AEDs, have the da 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 da. But what I'm it is up to the parents, and it's up to the doctor, and it's up to the child whether or not they are physically fit to play a sport. It is not up to legislation to decide whether or not I was able to swim, whether I was able to be in ski club, whether I was able to. No. And that is probably why I failed. But I really, really am for having it reshaped and to have health and heart awareness in schools. Absolutely.
So, how did you become involved with Heart Valve Voice US?
So I have found Heart Valve Voice just before my last procedure, before the TPVR. When I was in that kind of fight or flight mode, and I was like, I don't know what it is. So I wanted a little bit of research, and I sat in one of their support calls right before my procedure. And it's a wonderful place for anybody that wants a little bit of extra love and support just on that note. And I just actually sat in a support call the other night, and we hold one once a month. And I really invite anybody that wants to just pop in and just have some good chat and just some great support to come and join us. And that's how I found them to begin with. And then I volunteered with one of the political campaigns, a couple years ago. And after we were done, I took some time off, and I was like, I kind of feel the itch to do something again. And so something came through my email, and it was from Heart Valve Voice, and they were looking for advocates. And I was like, that sounds like it might be something that would be really good to do. So I filled out the application and did all the interview, and here I am doing what I'm doing. And I love it. I love telling my story. I'm not the most amazing at the social media, but I love telling my story. I love meeting the people. I love doing heart walks. When I was younger, I did jump rope for heart twice. I did walks. I did the Children's Miracle Networks back home. And I love doing this. I just love it. And I love getting out and meeting new people. And it's fun. And so, that's how I got involved with it. And it's super. The people that I've met, I went out, was invited to go to Edwards for the patient
visited
experience.
the Edwards facility
Yeah.
in Irvine, and
it was through Heart Valve Voice. Yeah. That was life-changing. And I was told that it was going to be life-changing from a couple of people in our group. One of the ladies in my group was first, Mary. And she was just like, you're just going to be so, your life is going to be forever changed after you go to Edwards. And I didn't know what to expect. And so I just kept getting the invitation, and I kept getting the calls, and I watched, and I got there, and I have met one of my dearest friends there through this. And yeah, and it didn't really hit me while I was there, but when I got home, I think I cried for 4 days straight out of just sheer love, compassion, and just I can't believe that somebody just thought of me that much. All these people. They have a parade like that. I got to do
your story.
a speech that was just a story. Tell my story. I got to meet the team that made my heart
It's remarkable
valve.
because I've also experienced this
They're in
visit to
Costa
the
Rica.
Edwards Life Sciences facility here in Singapore, and it is remarkable. The entire patient, it's very patient centric. Those meets which they invite patients.
Yes.
Incidentally, I don't know whether you know or not, I'm
It
also an
is.
Edwards valve recipient. So from one Edwards person to another Edwards. Yes.
Right. Exactly. For
Oh,
life. For
fantastic.
life.
Yeah,
I'm actually
that's
wearing my Edwards bracelet that I got. That, life is now. And it's
yes.
always, I am forever grateful for Edwards. Like, and I told him, I said, if I could ever get a chance to go to Costa Rica to, like, I feel like my home is now, like, I'm part of Costa Rica, that like, my heart is part of Costa Rica, right?
Kimberly,
I would love
before I
to.
close, I just
Yeah.
want your point here. What do you think pulmonary valve disease receives so much less attention than other valve diseases? Why do you think that? Do you have an opinion on it?
I think
Usually people talk about aortic valves
goodness,
more,
I think it,
and yes, or trach or your
and
mitral
they
valve.
do, they talk about the aortic valve, they talk about the mitral valve, and funny enough, I didn't really touch on it, but I have a mitral valve with only one leaflet, and so I have a double complex problem. Like, I'm super rare, and it's just, some days I just kind of sit and go, I don't even know why, but I do know why now, and it's crazy. But to answer your question, I think a lot of it has to do with, I don't think that, and maybe people can come and come to my LinkedIn page, or on Instagram. I'm at Ski Chick on Instagram, and talk to me about this. But I don't think that they thought we were gonna survive this long. I don't know. I don't know that if science just really, like, it's just like we thrive too fast. I don't know. I really don't know. It's something
Yeah.
kind of like, I've just kind of just sat here and gone, I don't know. I don't know. Cause I look a lot, and I see it now that there's, when I'm sitting in spaces with the AAP or some other places where I'm on committees where, moms and caregivers are talking about their kids, but I don't see a lot of people that actually talk about the Tetralogy of Fallot or the pulmonary valve. Or when I was at Edwards and we were in the little like meet and greet and doing a bingo, and I was sitting there, it was like everybody swarmed around me like I was like honey in their bees. And it was like,
Well,
I went back to the hotel with Brian, and I said,
well,
I
Kimberly,
knew
you are
I
the
was
special
kind of
one.
cool,
You're
but
the
I didn't
chosen
realize
one.
it was
I,
that. Like, but I didn't realize it was that, like, pulmonary valve was that interesting. Like, because they kept saying, you're the one with pulmonary valve. Ooh, you're the one with Tetralogy Fallot. I heard about you. And I was like, really? Like, I really felt,
yes.
it was surprising to me more than anything. You know what I mean? And I know I was being really kind of maybe sassy earlier
Yeah. So
about that,
before we close,
about me, because
do you have
I'm
a
not
final
usually like,
message for our viewers?
don't. But anyway, just every year since I had the last valve replaced, up to then, I actually didn't go skiing, and I live to ski, downhill ski. I live to do it. And so I go every year to ski, and I just made our
Okay,
plans
great.
to go on our ski vacation just 2 days ago. And I also, this year has been really kind of a cool year for me. I turned 50. I had my yearly checkup with my cardiologist, and he told me, he said, Kim, your valve is doing so well. It's working as if it is a
Not a
a
bovine
natural
tissue.
valve, not a
Yes.
donor, not a bovine valve. Yes, yeah. That's how so he said, whatever you're doing, continue to do it. And he said, pretty soon we're going to have to take the hook out of you and throw you back in with the rest of the fishes.
Kimberly, thank you for your extraordinary journey with us. Today wasn't just about Tetralogy of Fallot or pulmonary valve disease. It was about courage, lifelong resilience, and the power of hope. One message from today's conversation will stay with all of us: free as a bird. May every child born with congenital heart condition receive not only the best medical care, but also the confidence to spread their wings and live life without limits. Thank you for joining us on Heart Health Conversations. If Kimberly's story inspired you, please share this episode with your family, friends, and anyone living with congenital heart disease. Together, we can create greater awareness, especially for pulmonary valve disease and Tetralogy of Fallot, and help more patients live healthier, fuller lives. Thank you for watching this live conversation. Bye bye.